Good evening. Welcome to Northbeat. I'm Megan Roberts. We begin in the Northwest Territories' South Slave region, where unfavorable wind could push fires closer to Fort Resolution and nearby Little Buffalo over the next 24 hours. But work completed by water bombers is expected to limit growth. Luke Carroll has the latest.
We're getting some really good feedback from on the ground. Last assessment that I had was, this looks good.
Thomas Bentham says water bombers have been hitting the fire with retardant and water repeatedly today. Two fires are threatening the community. One is about 13 hectares and 22 kilometers from Fort Resolution, about 4.5 kilometers from Little Buffalo. The other is just east of the first fire and about 1 hectare in size. Both are believed to be naturally caused by lightning and were discovered on Monday. An evacuation notice was issued for Little Buffalo. This is an area just outside Fort Resolution that largely includes cabins, but does have some permanent year-round structures as well. An evacuation notice is the lowest warning the NWT will issue for an emergency situation. It largely means that people should just be prepared in case the situation grows more dire. Now, Tom Bolio, who is the administrator for the hamlet, said although this was just an evacuation notice, he was recommending that people in the Little Buffalo area leave.
Most of the people from the community that live in the village are not there. They're probably gone back into Resolution.
Now, Bolio says there are some campers from Alberta who are still at the nearby campground in Little Buffalo. He says that they told him that they would leave if the situation grows more serious. Now, Bentham, the fire information officer, says that although there was really good work completed fighting the fire on Tuesday, there's still some concern as it's going to be dry, windy conditions forecasted for the foreseeable future. Luke Carroll, CBC News, Yellowknife.
Fire danger remains high to extreme throughout the Sawtoo, North Slave, South Slave and Decho regions of the NWT. That likely won't change for the next little while. Those regions are also in the midst of an extreme heat event. Environment Canada is forecasting temperatures as high as 35 degrees during the day, and they'll stay above 14 degrees at night. And many communities could be in this for the long haul. Those extreme temperatures could last for the next 7 to 10 days.
So when we look at doing heat warnings and things of that nature, it's really the consecutive numbers of days of heat, but also the lack of recovery at night, if I can put it that way. So if the temperatures stay elevated through the overnight period, people's bodies don't have as much a chance to recover. So then we see that prolonged sort of event of the heat having a real impact on people moving forward.
Proctor says air quality will likely become a bigger issue as well as the temperatures rise and stay hot. He says as it gets warmer, there's less wind and the atmosphere is more stable, so the smoke can't move and dissipate. A Kimmeroot man is in custody after shooting at local police. RCMP received reports of an armed man at 10:30 p.m. on Monday. They issued an alert for residents to stay away from the scene. When officers arrived, the suspect began firing at them and hit a police truck. He fled the scene on an ATV, triggering a second alert. The 22-year-old suspect was later apprehended with the help of a local resident. Nobody was reported injured. Canada's premiers are telling Ottawa to stay off their turf. The 13 territorial and provincial leaders are gathered in Halifax working on shared priorities. They're also sharing their frustrations about the federal government. Catherine Cullen reports.
Dinner table, come on down.
It's all smiles around the Premier's table, but ask about the federal government. The message is stay in your lane.
These core federal responsibilities, they go unaddressed. If your lane's in great shape, come on over and help us with ours. But that's just not the case in British Columbia.
The federal government has announced a raft of new programs that touch on provincial turf, from pharmacare to dental care and a national school lunch program.
To announce it one day with no collaboration is a symbol and signal of jurisdictional creep. And I think we need to respect the state of the Federation.
You're paying for twice as many civil servants to deliver the program, which means you're not getting the dollars down to the people who need them.
So you're going to hold your hands in front. And this is the GQ them up a bit.
One other common challenge the premiers were talking about today, healthcare. Last year, the federal government committed nearly $200 billion more to the system over the next decade. But with millions of Canadians still seeking a family doctor, there is a lot more work to do.
If we are able to deliver a system of education for every child needing education, we should be aiming to have access to primary care for all Canadians.
Healthcare advocates who spoke to the premiers today do see room for optimism.
I'm hoping as they start to hear stories of what's possible and Canadians start to hear stories about what's possible, that all of the premiers will get inspired to say this is fixable and here's the plan.
Though here too, BC's premier has strong words for the federal government.
Wouldn't it be great if there was a national government to coordinate that discussion? Oh, there is one, but it's not happening.
And on the carbon tax, immigration, equalization, many premiers are also at odds with the federal government, with demands for more money and the potential for more court action on the horizon. Catherine Cullen, CBC News, Halifax.
You heard Catherine mention there healthcare as a big topic of discussion. Well, there have long been problems with healthcare in all three territories. In Halifax today, the territorial premiers spoke about the unique challenges Northerners face. Take a listen.
One of the priorities of this assembly is access to basic health care. And I think that says a lot about the state of healthcare in the territory. You know, we're not looking for advanced healthcare or a lot of specialty physicians. We're looking for access to basic healthcare, so someone in a community knows that there is a nurse or there's a doctor in their community in case they need them. And so to do that, we are looking at new ways of recruiting. We're also looking at the model of healthcare that we deliver in the communities. It's still based on the federal model that was delivered a couple generations ago. And so our new health minister, Minister Semler, who is a nurse, has a background in this area, is really keen on looking at how can we modernize this to reflect the realities of today.
It's a constant recruitment for doctors. And everybody in the system, really, whether it's pharmacists or what's radiologists. I mean, you name it. You need folks to come. You're trying to keep up with the costs. We've just signed the Canadian healthcare transfer. You're not going to hear one premier here over the next 2 days that say that that's enough dollars to just keep up with the increased inflationary costs that come with delivering. And at the same time, folks want to see a different system.
Both premiers say cost is the biggest pressure point. Simpson says there's not enough personnel or money to go around across the country. A Whitehorse mom says the education department has denied her 5-year-old daughter an educational assistant. Her daughter has type 1 diabetes. The disease requires careful monitoring and management of blood sugar levels, something the mom says is impossible without a dedicated adult. Jackie Hong has more.
Jamie Traynor says she was told her daughter's school wouldn't be given any more EAs than already allocated. Meticulous carb counting and insulin doses are part of the complex equation keeping 5-year-old Sadie Ray alive. Traynor says it's not realistic to expect Sadie or a classroom teacher to stay on top of that.
And so here is a little 5-year-old going into kindergarten with no support. And to put that on a teacher is I just don't understand where whoever's making this decision thinks it's fair. Because as a teacher, you're already running a class of 20 to 25 kindergartners, right?
Parody is the president of the Yukon Type 1 Diabetes Support Network. She says Sadie isn't alone. The network has been pushing for better supports for school-aged children, but Parody says that's been without much success.
The fatality of this disease doesn't seem to be taken seriously by the department. And it's still, after years of pushing and trying to make change, they still are disregarding our kids. It's inhumane at this point.
The Yukon Education Department wouldn't comment on the specifics of Sadie's situation. Spokesperson said in an email it has a medication administration policy that includes insulin. But Traynor says that doesn't address the specific needs that come with type 1 diabetes. She wants to see a policy that guarantees students with the disease a dedicated support person. Traynor says she'll give Sadie health support at school herself this August if she needs to, but she's hoping it doesn't come down to that. Jackie Hong, CBC News, Whitehorse.
2 communities in the NWT and 1 in Nunavut are currently under water advisories. People in both Rankin Inlet and Samba Cay are being told to boil their water for at least 1 minute before using it for drinking, making infant formula, cooking, washing produce, or brushing teeth. In Rankin, it's because of work being done on the town water mains. For Samba Cay, there's been a critical mechanical failure in the water treatment system. There are also problems with the water in Henny Butte. In that community, infants, children under 5, and pregnant people are being told to not drink the tap water at all. They should only consume bottled water. That's because high levels of manganese have been detected. The GNWT says long-term exposure to the mineral can cause neurological effects in young children. Adults and older children are being told to take precautions, but they're at a lower risk. The government says a new filtration system has been installed and the levels should go down in the coming months. Nominations have closed for the upcoming Gnu Tribal Council election, and 2 people have been confirmed as candidates for Grand Chief. Incumbent Ken Kikovichik is running again. He's been Grand Chief since 2020. He moved to Edmonton earlier this year for what he described as personal and practical reasons. His opponent is Frederick Blake Jr., also known as Sonny. Blake previously served 3 terms as the MLA for the Mackenzie Delta. He was also the Speaker of the NWT Legislative Assembly. In-person voting will happen on August 19th. Members can also choose to vote online starting August 1st. Nunavut Incorporated is putting a call out to Inuit educators to sign up for an Indigenous Education Summit. It'll be hosted by the national charity Inspire in Winnipeg in November. Educators from different Indigenous groups will gather together. They'll share their views on how to better serve K-12 Indigenous students. NTI has funding for 5 Inuit educators and 2 student teachers in training to attend the conference.
Does public transit really need more police officers? And so this is it.
Welcome to the Greenbelt.
It is now believed that Titan was destroyed. It makes sense that they get a larger share, or does it?
All of this, just single detached homes.
Yes.
What do we know? How is that even possible? Well, with a little bit of help, I think we can explain it.
About that with Andrew Chang. Watch free on CBC Gem.
When we see Team Canada on the world stage, we're witnessing pure greatness. What we don't see is their struggle. We don't see Maggie McNeil navigating her anxiety, Shea Gilgis-Alexander getting cut from his high school team, or Ellie Black hearing she's just too old to compete. What we don't see makes us who we are. We're all bravely facing the odds in our lives, and our bravery is our victory.
I'm such a fan of this show.
Listen to the podcast, Q with Tom Power.
The story itself is so unbelievable. The industry wasn't set up for me to thrive in.
The presence I feel now is not something that I believed to be possible in the past.
So many people thought I couldn't do it. They doubted me.
Felt like I ripped my whole heart out.
I didn't realize how formative 25 to 30 would be.
I have to kind of repress my own self-doubt.
You're one of my favorite interviewers, so I was pumped.
Get out of here.
Q with Tom Power. Available now on CBC Listen or wherever you get your podcasts.
This is unbelievable.
The heart and soul of any city is best served on a plate.
Très bon. Merci.
I have some women to tell you about. You don't know them, but you will.
Thank you for choosing Plan B.
Tell me what I need to do to save my family.
Please enter your date of travel.
I can't do this anymore.
If you could go back, change things, would you do it?
Many families across Canada are struggling to put food on the table. It's been a chronic problem since inflation began to soar over the past couple of years. A new program in Yellowknife hopes to take the edge off that struggle. The CBC's Rowan Fleary explains.
The need for food for low-income families has never been higher. That's why Purelator and Food Banks Canada are working together to bring food to Northerners. They will deliver groceries for hundreds of people in Yellowknife. The city's Salvation Army will distribute the food. Stephenson Fritz says he's fulfilling his purpose by helping those in need.
I was fortunate enough to go and help with the first delivery in Yellowknife. While we were completing this delivery, We got the opportunity to see, some people, utilizing the food bank service.
The goal is to bring fresh, sustainable food to areas where access is limited.
The donations like this are gratefully received because without them we have to end up purchasing some of the food out of our budget, and we are already stretched and over our budget three months into our fiscal year. So by receiving these kind of donations, we're able to stretch our dollars further to help those who come to us in need.
Pluchinski says the program will feed hundreds of families in Yellowknife. It will also provide them with recipes and new and quick, easy ways to prepare food. The Salvation Army will also serve once a month through this program. Rowan Fleary, CBC News, Yellowknife.
After several weeks of delays due to a cyber attack, co-op store shelves in the NWT and Yukon should soon be fully stocked again. For some stores, grocery shipments could start arriving as early as tomorrow. Carla Ulrich has that story.
The recent security attack on grocery wholesaler Federated Cooperatives has been causing shipment delays and major headaches for grocers and customers across the north. Jeff Kincaid says it's been a tough couple of weeks, but his store is looking forward to getting back to normal.
We haven't been able to place orders, so we've been kind of going off of presumed orders, off historical data. But now we're at the point where we've been able to place some manual orders over the last few days, and we look to return to full ordering on Wednesday.
Kincaid says Federated Cooperatives is still investigating the incident, but he hasn't had an update on what happened. For one customer, it harkens back to the days of the Mackenzie River crossing.
It's an inconvenience for sure. You come in the shop and you don't find the things that you normally have on the shelves, especially meat, poultry, and stuff like that. Fresh produce has been really bad. It reminds me of back before we got the bridge freeze up and break up. It's kind of reminiscing in that sense.
Vaughn Allman says he's happy to hear store shelves will be fully stocked soon, but cautioned that cyber attacks are becoming more common and hopes retailers start looking at backup solutions. Carla Ulrich, CBC News, Yellowknife.
It's an emotional time for some wildfire evacuees from Labrador City who've left their homes behind. They're anxiously waiting for crews to get the fire under control so they can go home. In the meantime, community groups are pitching in to help out. Heather Gillis reports.
Thousands of wildfire evacuees are staying in Happy Valley Goose Bay, and it means there are a lot of extra people to feed. The Bethel Pentecostal Tabernacle has stepped up, and this week is feeding up to 400 people each morning. There are eggs, fruit, sausages, dished up by volunteers for evacuees like Rocky White.
And it's a bad feeling to get in your vehicle and actually look back at your house as you're driving away. Until you experience it, you don't know the feeling. It's like, am I ever going to see that again?
Good girl.
Fellow evacuee Sandy Laws agrees.
It's scary because you're leaving your home and everything you know. And
yeah. And I mean, for me, I think it was just...
you don't know where you're going?
It was just emotionless, really. For me, it was just, you're just focused on what's happening, what do you got to do, where you got to get to, and you just go in automatic mode, I guess.
And that rain that we got yesterday...
Meanwhile, White says the evacuation was especially hard on seniors, and he blames climate change for more severe fires across the country.
I've been in Labrador long enough to know that years ago, you'd get into wintertime, it'd be 40 below for 2 weeks in a row. We don't see that anymore. Spring comes in April now rather than June, and winter comes in October rather than September.
It's just a waiting game now, and the people here in Goose Bay have been wonderful. I mean, hats off to them.
There's little change in the fire, but more resources are on the way. 20 firefighters from New Brunswick to help tackle the fire from the ground once it's safe to do so. Heather Gillis, CBC News, St. John's.
The Northwest Territories hosted an international conference on diamonds last week, and it sparked a renewed discussion on the future of diamonds in the Territory. The CBC's Nadir Hashmi has more.
Will interest in the Territory's diamonds be reignited soon? That's what the NWT and Nunavut Chamber of Mines is hoping for.
When you look at the age of Canada's diamond production and compare it to other established diamond producers, we are still in our infancy. The diamond industry has only been active in Canada since the 1990s. If you look at places like Africa, you look at South America, it has been around for well over 100 years. So there are still discoveries to be made.
Costello says there's been more recent growth in the exploration of critical minerals, but it still has a long way from the level of investment that diamond mines had. According to a diamond analyst, such events do help start a conversation within the industry, but it all comes down to economics.
Going forward, there is, always, that chance that if we see diamond prices rise high enough, you will see new mines, come into production. But I would note with diamonds, it's a particularly long lead time to put a new mine into production.
Costello reiterates what mining advocates have been saying for years, that companies are looking for certainty.
And that and the lack of a North of 60 mineral exploration tax credit have contributed significantly to the low levels of exploration overall for the last 15 years or so.
Costello says mining companies still conduct explorations within and adjacent to their mines. Nadir Hashmi, CBC News, Yellowknife.
Several Nunavut leaders are heading to Greenland to see how the country handles waste. Greenland's capital, Nuuk, has been using its incineration plant since January. It burns trash to generate energy for the city. Iqaluit Mayor Solomon Ava will be on the trip. He wants to revive plans to build an incinerator in the city and clean up the road by the current landfill.
It is now summer and there will be people coming and going from cruise ships, and that is the only roads that will be used to get to the community. We are thinking of cleaning it up to make it look better.
Representatives from the government of Nunavut, Nunavut Tunlavik Incorporated, and the city of Iqaluit are all headed to Greenland. They'll depart for the week-long trip on July 31st. An animal rescue shelter north of Calgary has a problem. The Alberta Institute for Wildlife Conservation has reached capacity for some of the animals it cares for, in particular, young deer. What's especially troubling is that about half of the fawns it's looking after shouldn't even be there. Dave Gilson explains.
In an outdoor enclosure at the Institute near Madden, staff are currently caring for 8 deer fawns. They say 4 were accidentally removed from the wild. They add a fawn lying all alone is normal and that deer often leave their young alone for long periods, only making short visits to nurse them. Acting Executive Director Katrina Terrell says they're recommending people leave young deer alone unless they're obviously ill or injured.
So if you're ever not sure about something, please call us. We love to talk to you. We want to make sure that only the animals that really need to come in are the ones being brought in by people. We know that people are doing this out of the best intentions, They really want to help the wildlife, and I love that they do, but we want to make sure that we're helping the wildlife in the most appropriate way, whether that is simply leaving them where they are or actually having someone come out and rescue the animal.
They expect to release the deer fawns by September. Terrell says they see this happen with other wildlife as well. She recommends people call their wildlife hotline for information and advice. She says they're currently caring for more than 200 patients and adds they continue to welcome public donations. Dave Gilson, CBC News, near Madden.
Visitors to Montreal's Trudeau Airport can now see new displays promoting Indigenous tourism and culture. It's part of a 3-year partnership with Indigenous Tourism Quebec. Those involved in the initiative say it is long overdue. Simon Nakaneshny has more.
More than 21 million passengers move through this airport every year, and a lot of them are tourists. But up until now, there was nothing to alert them to some of the most unique tourism experiences in Quebec, those offered by the cultures who have lived here the longest.
I think it's pretty sad. I think it's about time. And it shows that Indigenous people, that we're working hard, that we're out there, we're advocating for ourselves and we're creating partnerships, and people are waking up now.
For the first time, the airport is promoting Indigenous tourism to its clientele. This step is modest, a series of lit-up panels with the names of Indigenous peoples in Quebec, plus photos, cultural artifacts, and greetings from different nations in their languages. But the airport says more interactive offerings are on the horizon.
The goal is to provide more cultural and artistic offer in the terminal, which could lead to boutiques, which could lead to restaurants.
We try to use a real fur, perch.
José Leblanc runs a business that's part craft workshop, part museum in Ouachat near Sept-Îles. She says by focusing on tradition and authenticity, she can provide something special to visitors.
And it's very interesting. I see them eyes when they get out to my business and they say, wow, where I can see something other and where I can learn something like that.
Several airlines that serve Indigenous communities in Quebec already fly out of Trudeau Airport. So when it comes to tourists, getting there isn't as much of an issue as getting to know what those communities have to offer. Simon Akineshny, CBC News, Dorval.
And that is Northbeat for tonight. For news anytime, you can always go to our website, cbc.ca/north. Thank you for watching. I'm Megan Roberts. Have a good night.
Her particular skill set can be helpful to us.
She's a con artist.
Instead of using your talents for crime, you'll be playing on our team. I'm a cop.
You're not a cop. You have a badge?
Not yet.
A gun?
Soon.
Not ever.
I need to get off that boat and back to being a full-time detective. And you need to stay out of prison. The best way we do that is to keep our heads down and do as we're told.
90,000.
90,000.
The department will cover it, right?
No, they won't.
I was a grade 9.
Mr. Critch, you need glasses. Glasses? No, I just think the chalk is just a little soft.
One of these days we're gonna have to grow up. But today is not that day.
I don't want us to get older either.
Son of a Critch. Watch free on CBC Gem.
Are you ready to be entertained?
Stand-up comedy, best comedians from across the globe.
Oh, great.
An incredible lineup.
Canada.
Are you ready? Oh. Are you kidding me?
CBC's got the best in stand-up comedy.
That's pretty unbelievable, man.
It's a scam. It's a scam.
No way.
Ooh, it's a bit spicy.
It'll change your life.
Catch it all free on CBC Gem.
Well done.
Y'all give it up. Give it up. Give it up.
People dream of seeing the world, but I'm here to eat it. I genuinely love you. I'm here to show you the 12 dishes that define the scene.
Très bon. Merci.
We are calling it iPhone.
Why would anybody want a phone without a keyboard?
Watch CBC News Explore 24 hours a day for free.